Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, a place where we navigate the struggles and perks of single mom life, the ebbs and flows of my work in the beauty industry, quality relationships, working through personal traumas, and finding our higher purpose. Sounds like a lot of struggling? Well, it is. So grab a drink and let's try and balance it together, because who said we have to navigate through this chaos alone? Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, your weekly dose of mom brain, unfinished tasks, work fatigue, and simply trying to balance the imbalanceable with me, Kat, your host. So getting right along into it. So I want to share with you guys some life updates. You know, there are a lot of great things in my life coming up, and I'm really excited, and I feel like it's necessary to celebrate. First of all, it's summertime, it's warm, all is good. And I'm also moving this summer, and I feel like my move is kind of a catalyst to start fresh. You know, it's giving me the nesting kind of feel where I get to set up my place differently and make it match the vibe of who I am now and today. Versus 3 years ago when I moved back to Virginia, I was just in a different space, you know. And I'm a person who's moved a lot throughout my adult years, and I feel like moving state to state or country to country, you know, the focus and emphasis on things is different than when you move just locally. And I feel like moving locally, in this case, I've gotten some time to really slow down and move at a slower pace. And so I'm just taking this opportunity and taking advantage of it to move in a slower type of way and take my time and not rush to put everything up in one day like I did when I moved here, because just the brunt of moving from a far distance, state to state, it's like you just want to put everything together and make it feel like home, because, you know, you just have so many moving parts to put together that, like, it's just a lot. So I'm excited for that. And something else that I'm excited for is that my son is going to be graduating from 5th grade this year. And that's pretty wild. That means he is going to be a middle schooler. And that's weird as shit. Like, like my firstborn is going to middle school. Like, I have no words. I just know that during graduation, I'm probably going to be bawling my eyes out and looking at him like, who is this little man? But, you know, I'm super excited for him. I know he feels like he's moving on to bigger things, which he is. And I feel like it's great. It's good. You know, it's not that I wish time away, because it's kind of scary that they used to be so little and just your little babies, and now they're just like turning into adults, young adults, you know. But I'm celebrating him as well. And I also want to highlight that I've started being more organized about my schedule. Specifically during the summer, I'm going to definitely try to like push this into the fall and the winter as well. But for the summer, I decided to take my weekends off. I know some people might be like, as a hairstylist, like, how can you do that? You can do whatever you want. So long as, you know, everything makes sense to you and you're able to still provide, pay your bills, things like that. I just felt like last summer I had all these ideas in my head of what I wanted to do, and I only could do half of it because I had to keep working around the fact that I was working, and like I missed out on a lot of like fun stuff that I wanted to partake in. So I'm just like, no, this summer I'm gonna take my time off. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take my days off. And I mean, another thing is that, like, honestly, a lot of families, you know, are on vacation and like living more of like flexible lifestyle during the summertime anyway. So that kind of works out in my favor. to be honest with you. So shout out to me. And going back to me organizing my schedule, you know, I've also been able to plan some trips in there because I know the weekends that I'm going to be off, and I can plan things ahead of time. And so I'm really excited for that. And one of the trips, I'm getting on a plane, and those who are close to me know that I hate flying. I have a phobia, but I have been on planes before. It's just that as I've gotten older, it's become more daunting, and I've become more anxious on planes and through the whole process of, as soon as I purchase my ticket, it's like the anxiety sets in. And it's not things that a lot of people talk about, but there is a lot of us who do not enjoy being on planes. But I don't want to focus on that part of it. I want to focus on the fact that, like, every time I book a flight, and I don't fly as often as I think I would if I wasn't so anxious about it, but I still make it a point to still book flights, go places, enjoy my life. But every time I do, and I'm anxious, but then I go on the trip, I come back, I make it back home, and I'm like, wow, like, that is an accomplishment. I getting on that plane is many mixed emotions, but I'm focusing on the accomplishment of it. And every time I do it, I hate it. But when I get back from these trips, I'm like, dope. Another one in the books, another time that I didn't let fear take over my life. So that is what I want to focus on celebrating as well. And yeah, I think it's important for us to make the time to celebrate the things that are going on in our lives, whether they're huge accomplishments or small. It's still a step forward. It's still something that, finding joy in your life, that is important, because there is a lot of shit to be upset and sad about in this world. So make sure you hold on to those things that you can celebrate. So, sort of shifting gears here, I want to talk about activism and advocating for social justice, particularly for those who are newbies, including myself. I'm a newbie, to taking action and activism and speaking up about things, but I've always had this sense of feeling like collectively, as humans, we all have responsibility to stand up for those whose voices are silenced. Or for those who cannot fight for themselves or stand up for themselves. And, I don't know where that burning desire came from. Like, there's not like a canon event in my life where I'm just like, it shifted the way that I thought. I feel like I've lived a pretty privileged life. And in my core, I just can't imagine why, if we were all created the same, we all live on this same earth, like, why is it that someone couldn't have the same privileges as me just because of their skin, just because of their gender, their birthplace, their religion, their sexual orientation, or their abilities? I started being more vocal during the height of BLM, George Floyd, things during COVID, and so many other people did as well. And especially after learning about the genocide toward Palestinians, 8 months ago, or, we know that it's been longer than that, but that's when a lot of us have jumped on that wave, was 8 months ago. Because of that, there's been a huge wave of awareness that people are gaining, which is what should be happening. That's what we want. And I do believe that this awareness has correlated to the influence of social media, the internet, TikTok, all of those things. And one of the issues that have been coming to light lately is I feel like there is so much information being spread about everything from everyone from everywhere. And those who have been moved by it feel overwhelmed. But I'm not going to make this episode about like activism fatigue. And this is just a reminder that we have to remember what our purpose is of our activism, and so that we don't become overwhelmed by everything that we hear and see and then start talking about activism fatigue. I saw Kaylani post a video about this specifically a couple of days ago or a week ago, and I just love what she said, so I can't even take credit for like this idea. She just reminded us that there are people who already have the answers. There have been people who have been organizing for years, some like their entire adult life, some since they were teenagers because maybe they grew up in these unfortunate situations, and they've made their whole life's work in organizing and being and advocating for people who don't have the same rights as you and I. A lot of these people who can articulate themselves and can speak very well about what's happening and have the full scope of understanding have degrees in politics and policies and, U.S. government and foreign government. Like, they have degrees in that already. They know what needs to be done. Our job as newbies is to connect with those organizers who align with our values and focus and follow their lead. As new activists, we keep thinking that like we have to find the answer. But how self-centered for us to think that like we hop on and we're going to have the answers. We don't even begin to understand all of it. Use that again to find organizations and people that are already equipped with all of the knowledge and know the people that they need to know and have the connections and follow their lead, join their organizations, act with them, because what's powerful is the number of people who show up for these things. One person yelling at Congress versus 100 people yelling at Congress, that's going to apply pressure. That's going to make more of a difference. So instead of us just coming from all these different directions, just let the people who are leaders and who can do that connect with them. And you leaders may be born out of this as well. Like, not to say that we don't matter as newbies, but it's kind of one of those things you got to put in that work. And again, just remember that there are already people making changes. There are already people that have the knowledge, already people that know who can make an impact for change. So it's up to us to show up and create numbers. Pressure can only be applied with numbers, bigger groups of people for the same cause. Now, this leads me to my next subject. And that is about calls to action. When we're sharing our videos about these atrocities in the world, Sudan, Darfur, DRC, Palestine, be sure to express the importance of what you're calling us in action to do. This is specifically for creators talking about Sudan and DRC. Personally, based off of my algorithm, I see a ton of content about Sudan and DRC. So to me, it's not about that like people aren't speaking about it. I even made a TikTok earlier about this. Basically, there's many people just telling us what's happening over there, which is fine. Like, that's the first step for awareness again. But they also then are shaming us for not caring about what's happening. And although I know where that notion comes from of like the collective trauma of Black lives being less important to the world, I understand where they're coming from with that. It's not helpful in gaining people to hop on board, number one. And number two, when they speak about, oh, but you're not doing anything and nobody cares about it, I'm also seeing that there's a lack of information on like what exactly to put our activism toward in action. And by that, I mean, yes, we stop buying new phones and new electronics, and things like that. And we can donate to displaced families and things like that, which are great. And that is necessary. But at the same time, we want to stop what's happening. We want to stop what's happening over there. We don't want to have to donate to anyone. We don't want anyone else to be displaced. We don't want any more cobalt to be mined. How do we stop the entities that are in charge of oppressing and exploiting these people and harming these people? How do we stop that? And that is what I'm looking for. That is what I want. When people are making these videos and they want to shame people, instead of that, just put in how we can help. And I think that is like another difference in like why so many people can actively see who the oppressors are in the Israel and Palestinian genocide. We can see who is in the wrong. And our government is tied into the government that is in the wrong. So we feel like we're able to make more of an impact in stopping that, because it's like more clear. So I just think that it's not even a matter of like black versus brown versus the world. I think, again, we have to remember we're all in this together, and we all have to fight for everyone to be free. It doesn't, it's not that one is more important than the other. We all have to fight for everyone to be free. And also, if one kind of like, if you know more about one, and so you because of that you share more, that is okay too. We have to, again, going back to activism fatigue, we have to also understand that we are not experts, and we can't save the world by ourselves. We cannot save the world by ourselves. So do what you can for whatever, I want to say, whatever cause that resonates with you the most. I don't want to say it's easiest for you, but that resonates with you the most, and start there. And I promise you, if you are a person that means what they say and really, really feels for all of these causes, then you're going to eventually want to be helpful in all of the causes together. The issue in activism with Sudan and the DRC is Sudan is having a civil war. And in the DRC, they're being controlled by people within their land, their government. And that's where it's just so unclear on what can we do. And I also want to talk about, like, again, I'm not an expert, but from what I read, like, we should be calling to action some other African nations because of proximity. I feel like, if you're a neighboring African country to these places, you might have more power than someone living in Virginia in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So we should shift gears into really trying to figure out what we can do to stop what's going on, not just shame everybody about it. But those are my thoughts, those are my opinions. I'm also not I don't have any negativity toward the people that are doing that, because I understand and I get it. But as a reminder, let's shift that energy so that we can all work together. And so back to activism fatigue. Now, instead of feeding into that notion, be sure that you limit the amount of time you're researching these things to a certain amount of time a day or certain days, whatever works for you. Separate research versus just scrolling. Although we are finding so much information on TikTok, please remember that, like, a lot of people and the things that they're sharing are their opinions. So sometimes we have to just like put a halt to that, And all in all, nobody is looking for us to do this by ourselves. like I said. Connect with people who are on the same plight as you. Link up with organizations. Take care of yourself. Go to work, go to school, and continue to speak up in places about whatever cause that resonates with you where people are not speaking about it. And enjoy time with friends and family. Enjoy time with your community. I know it's hard to say that. Like, it's hard to be like, I can't enjoy anything during this time. And, if I'm not even speaking to Palestinian people, I understand that, like, we can't tell them or any displaced people how to go about their trauma. We can't. If they want to be angry, if they want to feel whatever they want to feel, they are allowed to do so. But I just want to be like that light and that reminder that there's always forms of community and ways to just, again, find the joys, the little things in life that you can, so that you can continue to feed your soul and get through, because we are going to continue to fight for this. Like, I just got emotional for a second because it's just like, it's been 8, almost 9 months, and it's like, we're still here, but it can get so discouraging. But there's just no way that, like, at the volume of people that have opened their eyes and their minds, there's no way that there is not going to be a change. This other post that I saw was another reminder to me that Palestinians do not want you to cry with them. They want you to fight with them. So we can sit around and be so upset and sad about what we see over there all day long, but turn that into action. Turn that into something. And that's all I can say. That's all I can say. I made a while ago a page on my website that has as much information as I could put together in that time about Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Darfur, Native, Indigenous peoples' struggles, and of course the American Black struggles. And those links are on my website. There's links to articles, there's links to videos, there's links to books, there's links to donation. Go check it out. Go, whatever you think will be helpful for you to know. And I also am going to add links to organizations to join. I'm going to try to put a lot of them on there based off of the region in the US that you're a part of. And because, like, again, the call to action, like, take your time to research, do what you got to do, but the call to action, the action part is the important part. That's how we make change. So that is all I have for you for today. I hope you guys feel ignited to keep going. I hope maybe if some of you are listening and didn't know anything about any of this stuff, I hope this has opened your mind and could open your heart. And no matter what you see online, what side you're looking at, I'm on the side where I want people to be free and not be oppressed, and for greed and power to be dismantled. That's where I'm at. So if you think me being on the side of a particular group of people doesn't mean that you're wrong. That is the side that I am on, and I will continue to fight for that and speak up as much as I can. Thank you guys again for listening, and I'll see you next time. Let's stay connected. You can find me on Instagram at imbalancedwithcat or on my website, imbalancedpod.com. Give me a follow or a podcast review, and I'd love to share it on air. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.